This WallBox charger, which is our vehicle-to-grid charger, has been playing up recently. It keeps throwing errors and cutting out the charge. So it should charge at 7.4 kilowatts, I think it is, maximum, and it modulates that in the daytime to soak up the excess power from the solar panels. But at night, when it's trying to charge at 7.4 kilowatts, so it just keeps dropping out. And the error it shows is KC link over temperature, which is something to do with a cooling of the capacitor pack inside, I believe, but I don't really have much idea. Anyway, reducing in software the maximum power it delivers to 3 kilowatts virtually eliminates the over temperature failures. So I suspect something is obviously wrong with that. The instructions from WallBox indicate you should take the thing to bits and replace the thermal paste between the heatsink and the capacitors, presumably, in the printed circuit board, I would guess. That seems a bit over the top, but someone suggested that it could be the ventilation filter for the fan. It does have a fan, and I believe it draws air in through the back. So I'm going to see if I can get it off the wall and see whether there's anything blocking the airways for the cooling. That might be an easy fix. Anyway, to take it off, I've read the manual and the installation manual, that is, and it looks as if there are 4 screws either side, and the whole thing should just lift off a back plate. There's a connector at the bottom. Not sure about this one. Anyway, there should be a connector which is sort of pluggable, so the whole unit should lift off and disconnect itself as you take it off. That's the theory, anyway. We'll see how it goes. First, obviously, I'll unplug it from the car and isolate it from the mains, and then think about taking the screws out. Okay, everything's disconnected. So the car and the mains. These look to be Torx screws on the side, and there's actually 4 on each side. The installation manual seems to think there are only 2 each side, so maybe I don't need to take them all out. That's all 8 screws out. Oh, looks promising. It's going to be heavy, I think. Okay. So as the installation manual suggested, this is indeed just a connector that connects itself basically as you fit the unit to the wall. There are only 4, or rather 2 each side screws here, which is kind of interesting. So I guess the other 2 I've taken off. Must be for something else, maybe for the black plastic cover on the front of the unit. Anyway, in this comms cable I've now taken the zip tie off so it can reach the floor. Looking at this, these look to be some kind of filters. So I'll see if I can't take those off. They don't look especially dirty, but there's one on the other side. I can see through the front, which does look pretty dirty, so I'll probably take that out. There are 4 screws around the edge as well, and some kind of rubbery material here, and a dash there. Looks like some kind of silicon sealant or something similar, and here as well. See about taking these off. So there's some kind of plastic cover, a little bit of foam. Okay, well, that's scarcely dirty. I'll wash it anyway, but yeah, I think that's the cause of overheating. These two, I might as well take them out anyway, seeing as I'm here, but they don't look dirty at all. Maybe they're exhausts. This is an inlet. Oh, there's a fan in there. Oh yeah, you can actually see like a computer style fan. That looks like that is an inlet, but it's not especially dirty. Anyway, I'll clean that. I washed that in soapy water, and it's perfectly clean now. Very free flowing. I just sort of sucked through it. The fan underneath looks pretty clean as well, by the way. So that goes there. Let's just stick that back in. I'm always very careful putting screws back in with an electric screwdriver. Make sure they're not cross-threaded. Be very easy to damage the thread. And this is into aluminium as well. So I might as well take these out. Anyway, it actually says out on it. So I guess this is an outlet. This is kind of stuck slightly. Don't want to tear it. Again, lots of elastic or silicon sealant around here. Which I think is what's holding the this filter material on. There we go. Oh, it's come up delaminated this time. There's this sort of light thin mesh and then foam on top. Yeah. So yeah, there's this silicon material. Pick some of that out. Looks like this frame is just stuck in place with silicon. Which is going to restrict the airflow, I would have thought. It looks like it goes in here and out here. I'll just wash this nice and clean again. So I'll take this one off as well. It doesn't look dirty again, but while I'm here, again, this is partially silicone down, making it difficult to get off. Oh, there we go. Yeah, this one's delaminated as well as I try and get it out. But it's pretty clean. Yep, just caught on the silicone here. Well, it goes down a long way. I can see the aluminium. It's like a rectangular chamber below there, which I guess feeds across lower down. Yeah, that's all empty space as well. Yeah, I'm going to wash these. I might try and pick out some of this silicone because it's obviously partially blocking the vent. Just clearing out some of this excess silicon. Okay, I think that'll do. Filter all cleaned. Stick that back in. Right, so that's all three on the back. As I say, on the front, there does seem to be another one. Oh, if I can just lift this over. So there's the 4 screws here. There's the only 2 on the wall plate. So I suspect this will come off. Now here, there's another filter, and that one looks distinctly dirty. This being on the front, perhaps it picks up more dirt. Now this looks like this cover comes off. It's loose at the top, but it's probably attached here. So I'm going to take off these 2 screws and see if this lifts off. This is obviously the comms connection, or a IEEE 488 connection, perhaps. Not sure how it works. See what happens. So I'll undo these 2. That's definitely coming off, which is encouraging. Ah, so under this cover there's an RJ45 connector, by the looks of it. So that's quite neat. So the bit like this will lift off now, which it does. Cool. So this is the filter. It looks distinctly dirty. Oh, there's another fan here, look. Tucked away in there. I don't know what's under here. Maybe I'll take that off as well just to see. Anyway, meanwhile, let's get this one off. Because this is not going to fit, is it? Maybe it will. Okay. Oop. Hmm. Okay, again, there's the connector. It's very neat, isn't it? So a multi-pin connector there, which comes up into the display. Oh, that's very neat. I like that. Meanwhile, see about this filter on the front. Okay, so there's actually a fan built into this little module. It's made out of plastic. Oh, it looks like aluminium perhaps, but it is actually plastic. Okay, so a little fan there, which is presumably blowing air onto this printed circuit board, peeping through there. So that's not going to come off easily, by the looks of it. But this definitely looks dirty. So it just draws air into this little sort of plenum chamber and then down through that fan. It's a pretty puny fan, but yeah, that is distinctly cruddy. So I'll clean that up. Not enough to stop it letting air through, I wouldn't have thought, but I'll clean it anyway. That's only the dirtiest so far, but I'd say not enough to stop it working. So let's put this back together. So all in all, it's pretty clean, I would say, and this is quite clean. Just seems a bit puny. This massive heatsink, and there's this little fan here just wafting a bit of air underneath. There's a little gasket on here, which is quite nice. Okay, so this is back on and clean. This fan is nice and clean. The blades, there's a very slight amount of gunge on the leading edges of the blades, but nothing too bad. I've seen a lot worse in computers. Those wires are kind of pinched against the front, but or at least against this by the looks of it. Still. So this must go up this way. So that connector looks good, nice and clean. Right. So the 3 screws that go into the aluminium are proper machine screws. But the 4th one that goes into the plastic here, that's a self-tapper. This thread is fine, but these two look to be stripped. That one isn't brilliant either, but I'm sure that wasn't me. I don't think there's much else I can do, but I'm very tempted to try and take this back cover off. But that's probably a stupid idea. I'm going to take these screws out and see what happens. So it's obviously stuck together with silicone, but interesting to see. That's all 4 screws out, but these 3 were virtually loose, especially the 2 on this side. That one was done up tight, but that's a bit odd, isn't it? I wonder if this will come apart. Ooh. Okay, so I was wrong about that connector. It's got a sort of rubber. It doesn't do anything at all. It's just for show. But they could seal around this connector slightly, but not a lot. So yeah. Again, there's all this silicone around here, which I will cut off, I think. I've got the back off. Interesting. Massive cable here with the signal leads going out to the CHAdeMO connector. This little fan, which is what I could see earlier. Lots of capacitors. So presumably, well, these potted transformers, amongst other things, I guess. AMD. Yeah, no idea really. Obviously lots of power electronics fuse over here, some sort. But presumably the this whole board is stuck on the heatsink on the other side. So that's probably the KC link over temperature fault error that they're talking about, resolving that by probably taking out this PCB and reapplying some thermal compound. But that looks to be easier said than done. Here's the void that's behind that other filter. So I guess it's sucking air in here and just generally sort of wafting it across and out of here. So it's all a bit vague, and there's no significant airflow, I wouldn't have thought. So yeah, there's much I can do in here without messing something up. I think taking the PCB out and reapplying the compound would be not so straightforward. Need to disconnect this. Maybe not these. Maybe take the screws out, which are around the edge here. There's one back here as well. Screw back there, screw there. Can't see one there, but it's probably using these these screws. Can't see one down there either. I guess that would lift up, and the compound would be underneath, maybe. Right. So I've cleaned up the silicon around these vents slightly. I don't think that's going to make enough difference, but still, I'll just stick this back together. I'm not going to put any more silicon on. I think the silicon that's there should reseal reasonably well. 4 screws back in. So all those screws are tight now, which they weren't before. So this cover can go back on. Pretty straightforward. Stick the comms back in, which is there. I'll stick this back on the wall. Right, that's pretty straightforward. Stick the screws back in. It's all back together, all screws in. The comms cable tied it up. Put the power back on. There's a contact to kick in. There we go. WallBox logo. Hopefully I haven't done any damage. There we go. Blue light, 0.2 kilowatts. 59% charge, so it's picking up the car state of charge correctly. Yeah, looking good. I'll test it at higher currents at charging and see whether it still overheats. Right, so I've had a chance to try this out again now, having got it all back together. And I've worked it back up to 6.8 kilowatts for charging. And sure enough, it's still overheating and tripping out. Checking the temperature. I mean, this thing with a thermal imager gets up to nearly 50 degrees, so 49 degrees. So it's getting pretty hot. Um, so what I've done, what I think I'm going to do, I've just lashed up this bigger fan. I mean, the fans in the actual charger are pretty pathetic, really. I think the one here, under the cover here, is it's like a 40 millimeter diameter, maybe less actually, but it's just wafting across the small number of fins over here. There's nothing on this side at all apart from convection. So I reckon if I stick this bigger fan on, so it's just zip tied on the moment, I'll do something better than that probably, and just get a decent airflow over the front. That might help. In fact, it already has helped. It ran okay last night without tripping out, so that seems to be a good thing. So yeah, the ventilation filters didn't really help, but interesting to have a look inside the charger and see how it's all constructed and so on. But so I think I'm going to set this up properly. I'll probably 3D print a bracket for it. Um, and initially, at least, I'm going to drive it through Apple HomeKit. So this thermometer is attached to HomeKit, so that can pick up increases in temperature. Again, I'll mount it on here somehow, and drive a switch, just a mains socket, which will turn this fan on and off. This is a mains fan anyway, so yeah, that'll be good. And you can just turn it on when it gets warm, obviously. Right, so a bit of a bodge, but at least it might keep me going for a while. Thanks for watching.